Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 22 updates and spoilers. What's up? We're in for a crazy live stream. Okay, just to get started here, house guests of the day are Amanda and we have Darren McDowell. Thank you both so much. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. And I also want to thank all of our super chatters from yesterday. You guys, you're too much. You're amazing, incredible, for real. So I want to thank all of you before we get going. So we have Smouth Dude Smooth, Rachel McClung, Julie Smith and Meanie, Camilla Gamba, Jaden C, Lala Buffenmeyer, Kelsey, Sheena123, Meme Robin, Lori Guevara, Beth Moore, Jefferson Tucker, Traval K, S. Dean, Christian Bonet, Ramsey Serrato, The Real VB, Enigma T100, Maricela Castellanos. I said it right this time. DL, Morris, and Brant Phillips. Thank you all so much for the support. We really couldn't do without you. And I see we also have some awesome super chatters tonight. Thank you. We've got Jody Cortez. We've got HRHT Queen. Thank you so much. S. Dean, thank you so much. Julia Mello. Wow, thank you so much. And Jefferson Tucker, you guys are so generous. Thank you all so much. You're amazing. Oh my God. Okay, we have a lot to get through. Like, this really is going to be a wild ride. Hey, Gioepe, thank you so much. All right, when we left off yesterday, Ian and Tyler up on the block. Ian is campaigning hard. Tyler, not so hard. He knows that he's got those votes from the committee locked, so he's not really, like, doing much. He's going around a little bit for show, but he's not really worried about those votes. And we can see that Ian is getting increasingly frustrated. He had some sort of confrontation with Danny while the feeds were down the other night. We didn't get to see it. I don't know if it's even going to be on the show, but it'll be interesting to see if it is. So let's pick up where we left off yesterday. Oh, before we get started, though, I see a lot of people are already talking about this. I don't know for sure if Memphis said the N-word or not. I only briefly saw the clip in question. Some people were saying he was going to say idiot and he cut himself off. Some people were saying it sounded like he was going to say the N-word and he cut himself off. I honestly don't know. I feel like it would be kind of weird for him to cut himself off saying David is an idiot when he says that like every single day. I don't know. I do know that there was some alcohol at the halfway party last night, and yeah. So I don't know. It's definitely not a great situation. Pretty gross. If he really did say that, that's super messed up. So anyway, where we left off yesterday, Ian is campaigning to Kevin in the bathroom area, and he's asking Kevin, are we still good? Because before, they had this like pawn pact that if either of them went up on the block, they were going to vote to save each other. So Kevin's like, yeah, like I'm still good. I'm still a vote for you, but I'm not sure that you got all these other votes. So Ian's like, well, who are you worried about? And Kevin says, practically everyone. Ooh! So Ian's like, well, I'll do anything to say. Like, I really want to be here. So Kevin says, Ian, you need to start winning if you do stay. Really? And Ian says, I've been trying. I just haven't had the mojo yet this season. It's not working out for me. So Kevin says, well, I feel like people are using you to get further in the game, and you're just kind of, it's looking like you're expendable to them. And honestly, like, Kevin is dropping some truths on Ian during this conversation. So Kevin says, Danny did not act independently this week. Okay, she consulted with other people on these moves. Yep. And she's either in on all this or she's getting played, and somebody tried to get you up and they said that you were going to be a pawn, but you're actually a target. She's in on it. So Ian is like, uh-oh. But also, like, Ian does not want to believe this, especially since it's coming from Kevin. Ian has had some things to say about Kevin in the past and all of his, like, crazy ideas. So Kevin says to Ian, you're going to need more than 4 votes because you can't trust that Danny is going to keep you. You need more than 4 votes so that it won't be a tie. So Ian is like, yeah, I'm really hopeful that I can secure the votes. So then Kevin asks Ian, like, are you in an alliance? Because now is the time to go to your people and ask them for their votes. And Ian's like, I wish I had people. So Ian is in the 4 Prime alliance with Nicole, Danny, and Cody. They're not planning on keeping him. They've just been using him. Nicole has pretty much just been using him as a shield. So Kevin says to Ian, if you stay, you need to join an alliance. I'm sorry, like, Kevin is dropping truths during this conversation, but he's also dropping, like, really obvious, like, you need to win competitions. You need to be in an alliance. So anyway, this is where it gets crazy, because Kevin's like, I feel like the people that you think are close to you are the people that are playing you this week. Oh, so that's true. He didn't drop any names specifically, but he's saying, like, the people that you think are close to you are playing you. And this is going to become very important for the whole rest of this spoiler. So Kevin says, from my observation, another thing, Tyler has people campaigning for him, like, on his behalf. And he's referring to David because David has been doing the most this week. He says Tyler is aligned with other people who are, like, offering people safety. You don't seem to have that. You need to be in an alliance. Okay. Well, anyway, after this conversation, Ian reports back to Nicole. He spills about this convo with Kevin. And he's like, yeah, Kevin told me the people who are close to me aren't. And he says, I think Kevin was referring to you and Cody. I think so too. And he says, Kevin is clearly trying to throw you and Cody under the bus. He hates you both. Remember that moving forward. So Ian says, I'm playing it off like I'm distancing myself from you, but I'm 100% with you. That's a mistake. So Ian says, if he stays and wins HOH, he's going to put Kevin up on the block. So then Nicole's like, but why is he saying that we're not close to you? And Ian's like, oh, Kevin is trying to say that I'm being set up to go. You are. That is what's happening. But Nicole's like, that makes me so mad. Whoops, it slipped out. She says that makes her so mad. So Ian's like, don't worry. I'm just telling Kevin what he wants to hear. I love how Nicole is so mad about this because she's getting caught. So then Nicole runs and tells Cody about it. And Cody asks, you want me to call out Kevin? So Cody is going into his classic, like, big boy talks mode where he says he's going to call people out and then he never actually does. So Nicole's like, yeah, do it. Call him out. Nicole says the other side is good. It seems like they might vote Ian out, which means it's going to be 8-0. And she's worried that that's going to expose her because then obviously she didn't vote for Ian to stay. And what would be the reason for that other than she's got a bigger alliance that's more important to her than her relationship with Ian. So she's going to be exposed. So Cody says that Kevin is basing all of this information that he shared with Ian on the bullhorn message. Because I want to mention too, Cody was asking Nicole, did Kevin drop our name specifically to Ian as the people that are, like, close to him but playing him? And I don't recall Kevin actually dropping their names, but Nicole's like, yeah, I think so. Yeah. No. So yeah, Cody says Kevin is basing all this on the bullhorn message when the wall yeller said, like, Cody and Nicole are playing everybody or whatever it was. And also based on what Kaser was saying in his eviction speech. So Cody says that Kevin is just proving he's as clueless in this game as we thought he was. Kevin's not wrong though. Like, he's been clueless on a lot of stuff, but, like, he's freaking right about this. Okay, so then Nicole runs and tells Danny about this Kevin conversation, the Kevin and Ian conversation. So Nicole says Kevin is a huge problem. She says the vote this week is going to confirm that bullhorn information to Kevin. Again, it's going to show that she is closer to other people more than she is to Ian. So Danny's like, yeah, man, that bullhorn really ruined yours and Cody's games. I don't know. Seems to me like they're doing okay. Right? They're still in a really freaking good spot. It's ridiculous. So Nicole is upset that people think that she wants Ian to go. She says, I don't want this. There's nothing that I could have done about it. So I will agree, like, she does not want Ian to go. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of her tears and everything this week have been because she's afraid of people, like how people are going to perceive this, that she's not voting to keep Ian. And I will say, like, she did put in some effort to try and maybe sway, like, Memphis or Christmas and be like, hey, don't you think, like, we could keep Ian maybe? But I think she really directed a lot of her efforts and her energy in the wrong direction, because she put even more energy into trying to figure out how she can just have, like, her vote. What am I trying to say? She was trying to make it, she was like even trying to get people to flip their votes against Ian so that she could be seen giving him a pity vote. You know what I mean? So, like, she wasn't working super hard to flip the votes to save Ian. She was working super hard to make it possible for her to give him a pity vote, but him still leave. So it was, like, really messed up and gross. So Danny's like, well, listen to this. Memphis is saying that he is not going to lie about his vote to Ian. So Danny's like, I have an idea. Why don't we have Enzo, Christmas, and Memphis all come out and say that they're not going to vote to keep Ian? So then that's 3 votes right there. And, you know, we're getting a feeling that maybe Day, Kevin, and David are not going to vote to save Ian either. So then she's like, you and Cody can say that you can't go against the house. So that way we can save face with Ian and he'll understand why his allies from 4 Prime, Cody and Nicole, are not voting to save him because they don't want to go against the house and, like, stick out like a sore thumb. So Nicole's like, oh, yeah, like, that's a good idea. She agrees with the plan. So then Nicole's asking, well, what can I do so I don't feel like such a shitty friend and person? You could be totally honest with Ian and tell him, like, what's actually going on right now. I mean, I think that might help a bit, but she's not going to do that. So Danny is saying, no, we can't tell Ian the truth. We can't tell him that he's going. She does not want Ian to think that this was the plan all along to get him out. And she doesn't want Ian to start blowing up their alliances, because people are going to start grouping her, Nicole, and Cody together. And she does not want that. Okay. So then a little later, Danny and Cody were chatting in the HOH, and of course, like, they're talking about the Kevin and Ian conversation, and Cody is saying he wants to call out Kevin. This is just classic Cody, big boy talks. And Cody says he's going to win the next HOH. He says, when I do, it's becoming more clear that I need to nominate Kevin and Davon, not Kevin and David. So he wants to keep David to go after Memphis. That is his plan here. And Cody has been saying that he wants Davon to go next because he wants to get rid of all, like, the mouths in the house. But Danny wants Kevin to go next. So there's going to be another, like, headbutting moment there potentially. But anyway, Nicole talks to Tyler in the lounge, and she's like, Kevin told Ian that me and Cody are playing him. I don't remember Kevin dropping your names, but sure. So she's like, yeah, Kevin also said that you're too comfortable. You know, you're not really campaigning this week. So it shows that we're all in on this plan to keep you and get rid of Ian. Again, where's the lie? You know, it's pretty obvious. So they both say that Kevin is making stuff up. He's not. And they also clear the air about that whole, like, wall competition drama they had. Just to remind you guys, Tyler thought during the competition that Danny turned to him and told him, like, to drop down or something. And it's a whole, like, he said, she said thing. So let me just say, basically, the important part of this is that Nicole got caught by Danny talking to Tyler about something that she was not supposed to be talking about with Tyler. And Danny was pissed at Nicole for that. So Yeah. Nicole was telling Tyler, like, don't throw me under the bus again, blah, blah, blah. So the feeds were like in and out a ridiculous amount yesterday. So choppy. Honestly, it was like trying to watch a TV screen with like a fan in front of it or like a helicopter in front of it. Like you're just trying to like see any moment you can in between the blades. Like it was ridiculous. So anyway, they agree that they're going to trust each other more moving forward. They're not going to throw each other under the bus. And Nicole is confirming she is going to vote to keep Tyler. And she says, Ian is leaving. He's the person I'm closest to in the house, which is BS. No, you're really gonna tell me that she's closer to Ian than she is to Danny and Cody? No freaking way. So she's saying because Ian, she wants it to be like Ian is her closest person in the house because she wants people to think like, oh, Nicole's all alone now. So she tells Tyler, I'm gonna have to lean more on other people, and I want us to be closer. And Tyler's like, don't worry, you don't need to like maintain me. We're good. So then Tyler's like, oh, I've got an idea for if the vote is 5-3. He says, if it comes out that it's 5-3, he wants to go over to David while like other people are in earshot. He's going to give David a big old hug and loudly thank him for his vote. So cool. Tyler and Nicole both have plans to try and frame David if the vote is 5-3. Because remember, Nicole was saying if that is the vote, she is going to claim David's vote so that it looks like he flipped and she didn't. So not only is she going to be like to Ian, oh, look, I voted to save you and David flipped, not me. But she's also going to cause paranoia between the Davon, David, and Kevin group. I hate it so much, but honestly, like, there's a huge chance that that will actually work. And that's some serious scheming right there. But I hate it. I'm going to hate watching that. It's horrible. So Nicole says she thinks the vote is going to be 8-0, though. It's not looking like it's going to be a split vote. So she says if Day, Kevin, and David vote to keep Tyler, that's like a huge shot at her and Danny. Because she's saying, like, that other side is trying to do the opposite of what they think that Danny wants. But then she says, also, if that group votes out Tyler, they're trying to frazzle her and Danny by, like, trying to make it a tie and put it all on Danny. But it's always all about Nicole, right? Either way, it's about Nicole, of course. So then Nicole was a busy beaver yesterday. Nicole talks to Enzo and Christmas in the photo bedroom, and she tells them the Kevin stuff, of course. He said that we were playing Ian, blah, blah, blah. So then she asks them, how do you guys feel about being honest with Ian about your vote? Because now Nicole is trying to play the whole angle with Ian of everybody's voting you out, so will you, like, release me from giving you a pity vote so that I won't be sticking out like a sore thumb? So Enzo and Christmas are like, yeah, I'm cool with it. Like, we'll tell him tonight what we're doing. Spoiler alert, blah, 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 spoiler alert, they didn't tell him last night. Okay, so Nicole says if everyone's voting Ian out, she would love to give him a pity vote. But Danny said that she can't just in case the other side flips because they don't want it to be a tie. They don't want to put all that on Danny. So Nicole is like, I just want to be clear. I don't care about Ian's jury vote. I just want his friendship after this. I'm sure it's not all about his jury vote. I'm sure it's also about how the public is going to perceive her because, to quote Rachel Riley from The Amazing Race, Nicole, your brand is watching. Think about your brand, right? So I'm sure she's freaking worried about that, especially since she was all paranoid when the DR was asking them about, like, making fun of Ian. So I'm sure she does not want to add on to that. So Nicole says, I'm trying to not look like a monster. She says, if Kevin didn't say that to Ian this morning, these people that are close to you are playing you, she says, I would have been like, okay, this is still fine. But the fact that Kevin's telling Ian what's going to happen, and it is going to happen, that's going to look so bad. So to me, it sounds like she's just upset that she got caught by Kevin. right? Because it sounds like she would have been perfectly fine blindsiding Ian, you know, and just letting things pan out the way that they were going to if Kevin didn't say anything. So anyway, Nicole says, you know, if we follow through with this and you guys are honest about your votes with Ian, we can save him a little bit of heartache. Plus, she doesn't want Kevin to be able to say, I told you so. Okay, so then Memphis and Ian are chatting alone in the key bedroom. And Ian says if he's lucky enough to stay, he's going to gun hard for that HOH, and he's going to put up people who've been like jerking him around or tire kicking and like not giving him clear answers. So he says the ones that have been gung-ho about me staying or like straight up with me about their votes, those people will be safe with me because I appreciate that. So Memphis is like, all right, well, I'm going to tell you, as of right now, I'm voting for Tyler to stay. Ugh. He says, Ian, I think you're a better player than Tyler. And I think you're smarter than me. And he says, there's not a lot of people in here that I think are smarter than me, but like, you're one of them. So Ian's like, okay, that's a fair answer. Like, I respect it. Thank you for telling me. He's going to move on. So after Memphis leaves the room, Ian says to the camera, ooh, not looking good. Not looking good for me. So then let's go to Nicole and Cody. They're talking in the lounge, and Cody is ranting about how he is not happy how this week played out. He's pissed that Nicole and Danny keep trying to play nice with Davon, and they don't want to put her up on the block. Cody's saying she should have been up on the block in the first place this week. Tyler should not have gone up. Ian should not have gone up. Should have been Davon. But no, they were trying to play nice with her. Cody's also pissed that they kept Day over Bailey last week. He wasn't happy about that either. So then Ian joins them, and he's like, well, I just found out that I don't have Memphis's vote. So Nicole says, all right, it's just one. Get the frig out of here. Are you kidding me? She knows exactly what's going down. And she's like, it's just one. Don't worry. So Ian says, yeah, but that probably means I'm not going to have Christmas's vote either because Memphis and Christmas are tight. So Ian says, I think my game's over. And this is exactly what I was having panic attacks over last week. So remember, he was saying like he didn't want to be the first one in jury and like sitting around for 6 or 7 weeks. So yeah, he is not happy about the situation. So Ian asks Nicole, as of right now, do you think I have the votes to stay? And Nicole says, I think you could potentially get 4. So Ian's like, okay, so I don't have them. You're telling me I could maybe get 4, so I obviously don't have them right now. And Nicole and Cody are like, no, like we don't know. We haven't had those conversations with people yet. Really? So the feeds switch after that and go to Stars for like over an hour. What the F is going on with these feeds? It's crazy. But later, Ian continues to campaign. He talks to Christmas and he's telling her, like, if I stay, I'm targeting Kevin and David. And she's like, yes, I think that sounds good. But she doesn't tell him that she's not planning on voting for him. So then Nicole was talking to Kevin and then Davon, and she's still acting with both of them like she's going to vote to keep Ian. So they're telling her, we can't vote to keep him if there isn't a 4th vote locked in. Like, we can't be sticking our necks out unless we know that this could actually happen. Okay. So then Ian talks to Danny in the HOH room, and he lets her know my conversation with Christmas did not go well. It's not looking good for me at this point. But he says he's not going to panic. He still has 24 hours to turn this shit around. And he says, I will try some zany shit to stay. And then the fees go to Stars. Why? Why can't we hear about the zany shit? I'd love to hear about that. So, yeah. Then Ian is saying he feels like David and Kevin are the ones making the push for him to go this week. I will say, yes, Kevin has been campaigning for Ian to go and for Tyler to stay. But I would not say he's like making the push for it, because this was already decided days ago by the Majority Alliance, who controls the votes. So Ian says he is 85% to 90% sure that he's going. Okay. So Ian's like, honestly, I would prefer that I've been getting played this whole entire time. And Danny's like, played by who? And Ian says, like, if you, Nicole, Cody, and Tyler were all playing me the whole time. He says, I'd prefer that over going out accidentally at the hands of effing Kevin and David. Well, you're in luck because you have been getting played the whole time. That's so sad. So he says, I feel like I'm being ganged up on by inferior players. Now, I love Ian as a person and everything that he represents, but what has Ian done all season that he's calling all these other people inferior players? And what did he do this season besides like whatever Nicole wanted? Ugh. Yeah. So anyway, the fees go down for a few hours for the halfway party. And yeah, when they come back, Tyler and David are in the lounge, and this conversation is awkward as hell. I think part of the reason that this conversation was so weird was because they had alcohol at the halfway party, but this is just giving me flashbacks to David's disastrous chats with Janelle and Kaser when they were up on the block. Like, this was some freaky ass shit. So David says, I'm scared of you, Tyler. And Tyler's like, you're scared for me or of me? And David says, of you. And Tyler says, you should be. And he was like joking around. But then David's like, I told you I wanted you and Bailey to be cool. And then you got her out. So Tyler is pissed. And he's like, I didn't effing get her out. And David's like, well, you were part of the narrative that got her out. Tyler's like, bro, shut up. No, I wasn't. Don't start that shit now that I'm on the block. So David says, well, it's true. Like, you were part of the reason that Bailey's gone now. So Tyler's like, I thought I was part of the reason and I tried to fix it, but I wasn't part of it. Like, I wasn't the reason that she's gone. So David's like, okay, fine. It wasn't you directly, but you did get her out indirectly. So Tyler's like, no, I did not get her out indirectly. He says, who tried to leave because of it? And David says, nonetheless, you're here. Oh, this is so awkward. Okay, so Tyler's like, what is going on here? Like, are you giving me an excuse why you're voting me out? And David says, I want you to sell me on why I should keep you, why you should stay. So Tyler says, I've effing had your back from the beginning of this game, even when you tried to F up my game with the whole, like, him going to Davon and saying, oh, Tyler told me that you were trying to flip the vote on me. Tyler's like, even through that, I had your back, sort of. So David says his intent was not to F up Tyler's game with that. So then David is talking more about the week that Bailey was evicted. Again? More about the week that Bailey was evicted. And he says, I came to you that week and I told you that I wanted Bailey to stay and you never had a follow-up conversation with me. And Tyler's like, are you voting me out or what? Like, what is this? Why are you bringing all this stuff up? So David's like, are we going to have this conversation? David says, if I'm your guy, like you say, why do you never come to me and initiate game talk? You know, why are you never game talking with me? And Tyler says, I was checked out for the last 2 weeks. I wanted to go home. And of course, there were lots of stars during this conversation. Of course. Yeah, arguing back and forth. So then Tyler says, I'm on the block now because of your power. And I'm the one who told you that everybody thinks you're lying about it and that you should own up to it because people are getting pissed. And he says, you're lying to my face, thinking you're playing chess. You're playing effing checkers, bro. You're playing effing hopscotch. Did Tyler really just quote Jackson from last season with the chestnut checkers? Blech. So Tyler asks again, are you voting for me or not? I'm your guy. And he's like, if you're about to vote someone out who's fighting for you, then what the F? You know, what are you doing? So Tyler is wondering also why David is bringing all of this up the day before the eviction. Because he's been hearing that David's been campaigning for Tyler to stay. So this is like really weird and really weird timing. And he's telling David, I'm your guy. So they end up hugging at the end of this conversation. And David says, like, I still need to think about my vote. But it's so weird because he's been campaigning for Tyler to stay for days. But to be fair, I don't think it's because he wants Tyler to stay. I think it's because he's trying to figure out what like Danny and her crew want. And he was trying to do the opposite of that. But now maybe he's realizing, oh crap, like they want to keep Tyler. So that could be part of it. I don't know. But anyway, Ian continues his campaigning and he's not getting straight answers from people. It's very frustrating for him. And he's like, I don't care who the 4 votes come from. I just need 4 votes. Like before he was being all selective and not wanting to mess with like David and Kevin and Davon and all them. But now he's like, I'll take anybody. So he says he has a dilemma at this point. The people that he's trying to secure votes from don't want to vote together, at least from what he is seeing. So he thinks that he has Nicole and Cody's votes. Obviously, he's in the 4 Prime Alliance with them, and he assumes, like, I'm going to have their votes. And also, they've been telling him that he's going to have their votes. So, yeah, he's saying that Kevin and Davon are only going to vote for him if they know that he'll have at least 4 votes locked. So he doesn't want to tell them that he has Cody's vote, which he doesn't. But, you know, he assumes that he does. But he doesn't want to tell them that he has Cody's vote because they're not going to want to vote with Cody. He knows that these people want to do the opposite of what Cody and his group want. So, yeah, he's like, how am I going to figure this out and like finagle this and make it work? So in reality, Ian doesn't have Nicole or Cody's votes. But he is hoping that Cody will convince Enzo and then he can go to Davon and Kevin and say, look, I got Enzo and Nicole, so you guys will be 3 and 4, and then Danny will break the tie in my favor. Okay, so then Nicole and Danny are in the photo bedroom, and Nicole says, so it looks like everyone wants Ian out. And Danny just cuts her off and says, you're not giving him a pity vote. So Nicole says, if I don't give him a pity vote, he's going to scream stuff about us when he walks out. Okay, I don't recall Ian ever saying that he's going to like scream stuff as he's walking out the door. Who is he, freaking cornbreads and F y'all? So Danny's like, he said this? And Nicole says, he 100% will. So no, he didn't say that. She's just assuming he will. So Danny says he's not going to do that. He would be such a jerk if he did that and tried to like bring you down with him when he leaves. So Danny's like, this is outrageous. I'm so over it. Ian is acting insane. And Danny says, Nicole, you can give him a pity vote if no one else is voting for him. And I was like, whoa, she's really saying this? But then she was like, but if for some reason it comes down to a tie, I'm going to vote him out. And I'm going to look like the jerk. Like, this is all going to come down on me. And he'll scream on his way out anyway. So she's basically telling him, like, you cannot give him a pity vote. So Danny says, I'm going to go yell at Ian right now. She says, I'm sick of this crap. It's childish and selfish. I just got to point out, like, Ian is so confused here and having to work so hard for these votes because they've been lying to him. They've been lying to their ally, and now he's like, what's going on here? So, yeah, Nicole says, don't yell at him yet. Like, I'm going to bring it up, the pity vote thing up to him one more time, and then, like, you can talk to him later. Okay, so Nicole and Ian chat in the comics bedroom, and Nicole says, Ian, I know you're working your butt off to get the votes, and I pray that you do. I am here to help you. That is a lie. So she says, what if everyone tells you that they're not voting to keep you? She says, I still want to vote for you, but like if everybody else is voting for you to go and I'm the only one who's not, Tyler, if he wins HOH, he might come after me because I voted him out. So Nicole's like, Ian says, so I don't even have your vote now? And Nicole says, no, that's not it. But I'm worried that this could tank my game, you know, if I'm the sole vote to evict Tyler. So Ian's like, I want your vote. If I go, I think you're going to be in a bad spot anyway. So, like, does it really matter? Oof. But he says, like, this might even help you. If you're the only vote to evict Tyler and save me, like, that might help you because it'll show that you're loyal. So Nicole is like, Ian, you're always going to have my vote. That's a lie. So then Ian says, I'm not rolling over. I'm not going to roll over and die. And he's like asking Nicole, do you think I have any chance of staying? And Nicole says, yeah, of course. Like, you have a chance. Ooh, okay. So then Ian talks to Danny in the HOH room, and he says he's still working on the votes. And Danny says, Ian, we're all fighting for you. But she tells him, you need to take it easier on Nicole. Okay, I don't think they're all fighting for him at this point, but sure. So she's telling him, you need to take it easier on Nicole. She was crying to me. She's doing everything she can for you to stay. You can't tell her to do things that are going to hurt her game. That's just not fair. So remember how they were trying to tell Day not to use veto? So Ian says he understands. Danny says Nicole has your back more than anyone in this house. And Ian's like, I know. And he says he's got a plan for the next day. Today, he's going to pull everyone into the storage room one-on-one to talk before the show. Just tell him the truth. So anyway, a little later, Danny confirmed with Tyler she is going to be keeping him if it's a tie. But Ian is still working hard. He's working late into the night. He's ordering in. He's pulling late nights. So he talks to Cody and Enzo together. And he's like, if I can get David's vote locked in, will you both vote to keep me? They don't really give him an answer. But Ian's like, I'm not going to go to bed until I get a yes from David. So Ian campaigns to David. And he even offers David a final 3 deal. He's like, we can set up a final 2 later on. But just know, like, if we go to the end together, you'll beat me because I've already won. And people are not going to want to vote for somebody to win a second time. So he says, if I win HOH, you're safe with me. If you're on the block, I'll use the veto on you. And guess what, guys? David shook his hand and said, yes, I will vote to keep you. What? Does it mean anything? Okay, so then today, Ian continues to hustle. I'm telling you guys, like, the rest of the spoiler is a freaking roller coaster. So, Ian continues to hustle. He's talking to Davon in the key bedroom, and Ian says, all right, here's what's up. I talked to David for a really long time last night, and I got David to agree to vote for me to stay. He shook on it and everything. So then Day is like, are you sure? Ian says, David's got no reason to lie. If he lies to me and I go, like, he's just pissing off a juror. So, like, why would he do that? So then Day says, well, David just talked to me like a few minutes ago and asked me who we're voting for. So she's like, something is not adding up here. So Ian's like, well, if you, Kevin, and David all vote for me, I'll stay. Because he's saying, like, I'm going to have Nicole's vote too. And Danny is going to break the tie in his favor. And he says, like, if I stay, we'll own this house. So I'm really curious what Ian would actually do if he stayed. Like, do you think he would finally break free from Nicole and Cody and Danny and all them? Or would he just do whatever they want? I guess it would depend on who wins the next HOH. But anyway, again, Day is saying, I think David was lying to you. Like, I'm going to go and talk to him, and I'm going to see what's up, and I'll get back to you. So Day pulls David into the lounge. She asks him, what's going on? You know, Ian is saying you shook his hand and that you're voting for him to stay. What's the deal? And David confirms, yes, I did do that. So Davon's like, we're keeping Ian now? And David says, we don't have votes either way. Like, it doesn't really matter. And Day says, we could have the votes, though. Like, it would be me, you, Kevin, and Nicole. And she says Danny would break the tie. So, yeah, they're still under the impression that Danny and Nicole actually want to keep Ian. So she says, yeah, we could actually make this happen. So David's like, yeah, that sounds great. I want to put this on Danny to decide, because even if she, votes to keep Tyler, at least she is getting blood on her hands and showing some cards. So Day says, all right, well, this is a situation where you cannot switch at the last minute, because if you don't follow through, you're putting me and Kevin in a bad situation. So like, you really need to be real with me right now and tell me what you want to do. So David says, I want Danny to break the tie. So they shake hands on it. Oh my God. So then Day tells Nicole and Kevin, all right, I talked to David. He said he's on board. And Nicole is freaking smiling her face off. She knows that Ian is still going. Even if these three vote for Ian to stay, she's not. She's voting Ian out, her best friend in the house. She could actually make this tie happen, but she's not doing it. And she's so happy right now, not because Ian is staying. She's happy because if the vote is 5-3, her and Tyler are both going to throw David under the bus and frame him and claim that he flipped his vote. And she's going to be able to say, Ian, I voted for you to stay, when she didn't. So it's going to be really slimy and gross. So Kevin is still kind of skeptical. He's really worried that David is going to screw them over. So he's like, I need to talk to David myself. But first, Ian campaigns to Kevin. And he's like, yeah, David shook on it. He said that he's going to keep me. So Ian is crying at this point, and he's telling Kevin, I really want to stay. Please, please, I need your vote. And Kevin's like, I need to talk to David, and I'll get back to you. So Kevin pulls David aside to chat, and David confirms, again, yes, I am voting for Ian to stay. David is saying, I want Danny to show her cards, and Kevin says, cool, I want that too. They shake hands on it. So Kevin goes back to Ian, and he's letting him know, you should stop crying, because David is not going to want to do this if you're, showing your cards right now. But David told me he wants Danny to choose. So you should make sure you go and confirm with her that she is going to keep you if it's a tie. So then Kevin goes and talks to Danny, and he tells her what's going on. She already knows that David shook hands with Ian, because Ian went to Danny and Nicole before he went and talked to Davon about it. So Danny is all pissed off that David is trying to put this all on her. She knows it's not going to be a tie, but she's got to play along with it and act like it will be. So she says, if everybody's on board, I'm fine with it. But yeah, Danny confirms to Kevin, if it's a tie, she's going to vote out Tyler. We know this is not true. We know it's not going to be a tie. And we know that even if it was, for some odd reason, she is not going to keep Ian. That's a lie. So then Nicole is talking to Danny. And Nicole is saying, this is great. It looks like the vote could be 5-3. And she's saying, I am going to claim David's vote. And because Ian is going to think that I voted for him to stay, he won't scream things on the way out. And she's like, if for some odd reason people do believe David over me, I'm going to say that some sort of power was played that canceled out or flipped my vote or something. So yeah. She was also talking about how she wants Tyler to play his part. Because remember, Tyler also had that plan that would be triggered if the vote was 5-3. He is going to try and act like David voted for him to stay. So, she wants to make sure that happens, just to kind of confirm it even more and make the other side freak out. So Danny went and talked to Tyler and told him, look, you need to do, this vote could be 5-3. We need you to follow through on your idea. So Tyler is building on it even more. He wants to pull David aside, right before the vote. And then it's going to look like he got him to flip when the votes are read. And then to make it even worse, he's going to go over to David after and be like, oh, thanks, buddy. I really owe you. We're going to kill this together. So Nicole is freaking giddy at this point about what's going down tonight. You wouldn't think that her best friend in the house is about to be evicted, because she's all like, oh, I'm so excited for what's going to happen. And she's telling Cody, you need to teach me how to act. I would not be going to Cody for acting lessons. That is for damn sure. But yeah, it's going to be a whole freaking cluster. So tonight, it looks like Ian's going to be going no matter what. The vote is going to be interesting, though. It could be a split vote. It could be 5-3. And if it is, there is going to be a cluster after. People are going to be like, who flipped? It's going to be like Faute. And unfortunately, I get the vibe that Davon and Kevin are going to believe that David flipped his vote. And it's so upsetting because this, like, that it seems like that plan would work perfectly. Or, you know, people could get spooked and the vote could be like 7-1 or 8-0. If it is 8-0, then Nicole is going to be exposed big time to Ian. Can you imagine, though, if Enzo flipped his vote like he has in the past, and then it looks like Nicole flipped her vote to keep Ian, and then, you know what I mean? Like, she's going to look bad at Danny and everybody. It'd be crazy. But anyway, hi, baby! Oh, poor Bowie hurt his leggy today. It's okay, baby. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the vote. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are Danny and Nicole making a huge mistake keeping Tyler over Ian?
You're a mess.
Oh, I mean, they would be in trouble with the rest of the committee, but
he had to limp in here to see you.
Poor baby. You're such a good boy. I love you. I love you, good boy. Yes. Good boy. So yeah, I feel like this is all stars. You know, you got to make big moves here. You could take out a big player like Tyler, put together a new group, Danny, Nicole, Ian, Kevin, David, and Davon, right? That's like 6 people up against the remaining committee. I mean, it would be hell of a lot more exciting to watch too, right? But yeah, that's not looking good.
Said he needs new legs.
Oh, Bowie. So let me know who you guys are rooting for in the HOH competition. I hope it's gonna be not the committee.
Oh
That's
God.
just my opinion. Honestly, yeah, I know. I feel like even if Davon or Kevin win, depending on how the votes shake out, like David, I would hate to see them go after David because that plan worked. I don't know. It'd be crazy. But anyway, I want to thank you guys all so much for watching and for chatting. Yeah. You're amazing. And I want to thank all of our super chatters. You guys are awesome. So we've got Jody Cortez. Thank you so much. HRH.
Not like that.
T. Is that a T or a plus?
It's I believe it's home run hit queen.
Oh, cool. Home run hit queen. Thank you. S. Dean, thank you.
I could be wrong, but that's what I got out of it.
Okay. I was thinking like British royalty when they say like HRH, like Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, so Estine, thank you so much. Julia Mello, thank you so much. Jefferson Tucker, thank you so much. Gio Epe, thank you so much. Alex Garza, thank you so much. Andrew Kinty? Is that Kinty or Kintu? Is that a U or 2 E's?
I think it's a U.
Okay. Andrew Kintu, thank you so much. Dawn MH302, thank you so much. Night of Light Official, thank you so much. Allie Parker, thank you so much. Allie Parker 3.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Laura G, thank you so much. Kelly Wagner, thank you so much. Mike D, holla for dollars, thank you so much. Shane Shaji, thank you so much. Everything Horror, thank you so much. Sheena123, thank you so much. And Sheena says, love the shirt. Thanks. I tie-dyed this myself. Shout out to the vegan zombie. Tyler,
I wish you had met him that day.
I know, right? Sheena says Tyler and Angela should get a shirt because they're vegan. I'm sure they could go and buy one. You know, they got way more money than we do. Thank you so much, Sheena. Jordan, is it Fukua? Vegan Power, right? Yes. Thank you so much. You're amazing. I really, really appreciate it, you guys. We both really appreciate it so much. And I just had a horrible thought. Like, there could be all this fallout from the votes tonight. And the feeds, like, what if the feeds are down for the 3 hours like they've been doing after the live show? That would suck if we missed all of that.
Yeah.
That would be really, really crappy. But anyway, thanks again for watching. We've got tonight's episode recap, which should be I feel like we're gonna be disappointed with the outcome, but because Ian's going no matter what. The interesting thing here, yes. The interesting thing here is going to be what happens with the votes.
least we're
and the
having
HOH.
pizza.
We're having pizza. I'm pretty jazzed about that. So
Vegan pizza.
yeah, we'll see you guys all later for the recap. And until then, much love. Yay.